I'm feeling a little down. You see, my congressman, Jason Chaffetz, Utah, Republican, 3rd District. Well, it seems that Jason no longer considers me his friend. On Facebook, he defriended me. And why did he do this? According to him, I was monopolizing his Facebook page. Monopolize? If I were monopolizing his Facebook page, then no one else would be able to post anything on it, and people post up on it all the time. In fact, I didn't make very many original posts. What I usually do is comment on posts made by other people, including, of course, the congressman himself. Frankly, if his other friends didn't insist on posting things that are paranoid or factually inaccurate, I wouldn't feel obligated to respond to them. He also said that he was concerned about the frequency of my posts. Now, when I'm asked a question, I give a detailed answer. I'm not one to oversimplify a complicated issue, and I rely on details to ensure that what I say is clearly understood. One of the interesting things about Facebook, though, is that comments are limited to a certain number of characters, and if you go over the limit, you have two choices. You can summarize your comment to fit within the space that's provided, or you can continue your thought with a new comment. I don't like to summarize, because summaries can be more easily misinterpreted than a detailed response. So I continue my thought in another comment. So what might look like a half dozen comments on one topic may very well be a single detailed answer to one question. But I think that's a lousy excuse, because I wasn't the only person using multiple comments to express an opinion. There are other friends that did the exact same thing. Jason also said that people were complaining and leaving because of me. I personally don't buy that. The complainers are the ones that usually respond to anything that I might write. And if some of his friends are running to him complaining, does he reaffirm that I have a right to free speech? No, he tells me not to write as much. I'll be honest with you, I tried, but there has got to be some balance to the crap that gets thrown around in that forum. And there's a major difference between things that I wrote and things that his other friends wrote. And there still are. I'd like to show you some examples of the kinds of posts that Chaffetz gets from his Facebook friends. And every time Jason posts something himself, he gets a half dozen comments that consist of the same hollow praise and hero worship. You're absolutely right. We're so proud of you. Keep up the great work. You are a bastion of hope. That's a direct quote. They all are. Can you imagine what your head would be like after a steady diet of hollow praise like that? Oh my gosh. I am amazing. And here's one that really blew me away. Keep us informed. Seriously? This guy just passes along the same rhetoric and disinformation that he gets from his party. And you're asking him to keep you informed? I got some news for you. It's not his job to keep his constituents informed. That's our job, to know what's going on and keep our representatives accountable to us and to the truth. In all fairness, that isn't all that Jason's friends post on his Facebook page. Most of what's posted is basically regurgitated Republican rhetoric and people telling him to keep voting no. Sometimes they'll mention a specific piece of legislation to vote no on, and sometimes they don't mention anything. Others will ask questions about whether internet rumors are true, and in the same sentence assume that they are. This one lady even posted a link to a website that claimed that Barack Obama was a willing participant in a conspiracy to introduce swine flu, bird flu, and whatever other pathogens they can into the U.S. for the sole purpose of murdering millions of Americans. One time I saw a link to an Obama crimes website, and there are more than a few birthers on there too. But does anybody complain about that? No. Has Jason asked his friends to keep the hollow praise down so he doesn't become delusional? No. As for what I brought to the mix, here's what a couple of people had to say about me being kicked out. I'd like to point out that these people and I have differing views on a number of issues, but we were always respectful of each other. But respect isn't the rule on Jason's Facebook page. He has a handful of friends who seem to have appointed themselves defenders of the congressman, and they don't do it by defending his policies or defending the philosophy of the far right, but by attacking anyone who dares to express a different opinion. They do it through name-calling, insults, sarcasm, typical talk radio show host behavior. And they don't let up. It becomes a virtual shouting match. And no matter how polite someone is, that person is accused of being the attacker and the one making the insults. The attack dogs will open a comment by saying, "You said that we're closed-minded," or "You said that we're not as smart as you are." And in reality, the person they're accusing didn't say that. You can read what they said. It's right on the screen. But it doesn't matter. Once the accusation is made, the individual is put on the defensive, and eventually they'll give up. And since the attack dogs usually get the last word, they think they've won the argument. Of course, if a third party were to read through the thread, that wouldn't necessarily be the case. Personally, I've gotten my share of insults and sarcasm. I've also been told to shut up and to make friends with Nancy Pelosi. But the thing is, Nancy Pelosi isn't my representative. Jason Chaffetz is my representative, and I have every right to be heard by him. At least I thought I did. I honestly don't think it's the frequency of my comments or the way in which I write them. I think I got kicked off of Jason Chaffetz's Facebook page simply because he didn't like what I had to say. Well, that and the fact that I refused to kiss his ass. Of course, there could be one other reason why he doesn't want me around. A member of Congress needs to have an open mind, and what's more important is that he needs to know what his constituents are thinking, not just the ones that voted for him, but all of the people that live in the district. By allowing thousands of people into a forum where they can talk with each other and share ideas, it's reasonable to think that there's going to be differences of opinion on a wide variety of subjects. It would be wise and beneficial for a congressman to let those people that he calls his friends to express themselves without fear of being ridiculed. This would enable the congressman to have a more realistic view of what his constituents are thinking, and thus be better prepared to represent them and work in the interests of the entire district. Jason Chaffetz has clearly demonstrated that he has no interest in people that don't think the way that he does, regardless of whether or not they live in the district that he's supposed to be representing. He has demonstrated, through inaction, that he approves of the sycophantic and childish behavior demonstrated by so many on his Facebook page. And that's just sad. I bought a book recently. It's called Team of Rivals. You may have heard of it. It's about how Abraham Lincoln staffed his cabinet with the people who most strongly opposed him in his political career. He chose these people because he figured that they would be the only ones who had the guts to stand up to him and challenge him on his ideas. Lincoln valued honesty, and he knew that if he chose to surround himself with a bunch of suck-ups who thought that he could do no wrong, all they would tell him is what they thought he wanted to hear, and he knew that that wouldn't be good for the nation.